The featured company is a paid client of Proactive Group Holdings, and this recording is disseminated by Proactive on its behalf.
That liquid nasal spray that you spray, and it's thermoreactive. So when it hits the top part of your nasal cavity, it gels instantaneously, and it can sit there for up to 7 days and time release any type of drugs into your nasal cavity, and they go straight nose to brain, bypassing the blood-brain barrier.
Welcome back inside our Proactive newsroom. Joining me now is Stephen Van Deventer. He is the chairman of PreveCeutical Medical. And Stephen, it's great to see you again. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's good to see you again, Steve.
Yeah, so a lot of things have happened over the last while with the company, lots of things changing and moving on, and it's an exciting time for you and the team. So why don't we sort of take a step back and remind everyone a little bit about the company?
Well, as you know, PreveCeutical started back in 2015, and we started with 4 different research programs. And over the last 10 years, we've been advancing those research programs to proof of concept. And we started with 4 because you never know what's going to happen if all of them succeed or not. And we've been blessed that all 4 have become successful in the research and development department. So what is now quite important about that is we have these 4 different assets that are really standalone companies, and so we've decided to start spinning them out into their own entities and building teams around those companies that are specific in that region.
Yeah, tell me a bit about some of those that you have. I know that there's some that you've been working on since literally the very beginning of the company. So remind everyone a little bit about a couple of the ones that are the most advanced.
So one of the most important things in this company is our Sol-Gel platform, and that's that liquid nasal spray that you spray, and it's thermoreactive. So when it hits the top part of your nasal cavity, it gels instantaneously, and it can sit there for up to 7 days and time release any type of drugs into your nasal cavity, and they go straight nose to brain, bypassing the blood-brain barrier, so we don't have that complication. That really is the foundation platform for all of our other drugs as a delivery mechanism. Then we have one company we just spun out called biogenetherapeutics, which is a siRNA, which is small interference RNA. So it basically will go into the brain, go to this specific PTB1B gene we're targeting, and tell that gene to silence, silence it by about 50%. The effects of that is for diabetes and obesity. We all know how Ozempic is massive, and GLP-1s nowadays. We're trying to do it with a nasal thing that tells the actual master switch of your brain to silence it, so you reduces your desire for food, and also gives you weight loss and deals with diabetes too. More importantly, our nose to brain delivery only takes about 3% of an oral dose. So you're taking so much less possibilities of toxicity, and nothing having to go through your GI tract, your liver, your kidneys, and all of that. So less chance of any toxicity in those things. So hoping to reduce the side effects of the GLP-1 drugs. That is the biogenetherapeutics. The other one we have is a non-addictive painkiller that's stronger than opioids, morphine, and those type of treatments. But however, we are now actively looking to bring people in the team that can manage the pain things, so we can do the same thing with the pain side. So those are kind of the programs we're focused on right now.
You obviously mentioned you've got one spun out already. So is that sort of the plan for this year, is to just continuing to spin those out and move them in that direction?
That is the plan, but I've got to be cautious in the fact when I say that. We've spun out Biogene. I will be doing the next pain one, but I want to make sure that Biogene is completely funded and on the way, so we're not having a double raise going on and having all these different consequences with it. So if Biogene gets its funding and everything as planned, then we will definitely work on it. So that could potentially happen this year, but it's funding dependent.
Yeah. So it sounds like PreveCeutical as the parent company, sort of spreading your offspring, so to speak, and really starting to put these in categories that they can start to really make that move towards eventually helping patients.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the things that just actually recent news, if you look back probably, I don't know, in the last 30 days or so, we issued a press release prior to the one of the new director came in, by the way, fabulous new director, medical doctor, physician, surgeon, who's come in and believes in everything we're doing. But prior to that, we filed a patent to be able to get dopamine into the brain. Now, in the history of dopamine, no one's been able to get dopamine into the brain because it's impossible to pass the blood-brain barrier. Where we're targeting a specific place where there's a mucosa under the brain that has no blood barrier, and we've actually managed to get it into the brain. So I would say that we're probably one of the only companies that's ever done. Most maybe somebody has, but we've actually got substantial amount in. We filed this patent that now allows us to basically block that area that we can be any type of psychiatric neurological drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Our nose to brain delivery has blocked that up because we've proven we can get it there. So our patent's quite broad right now. And we're specifically doing this dopamine program for Parkinson's because, Parkinson's, your dopamine goes up and down. If you can provide a sustained delivery, you would remove some of the side effects. So we're very pleased about actually delivering dopamine to the brain, and we're accelerating the Parkinson's program with dopamine.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be a pretty exciting 2026. It sounds like you're pretty busy.
You know what? The last 10 years, with R&D in the lab, it's kind of like watching paint dry, and that's unfortunately how pharmaceuticals and biopharma works. But now we're actually moving into from the preclinicals into potentially into the clinic. And this is really what's exciting here. This is where potential partnerships and collaborations with pharmaceutical companies and biopharma companies, or even institutions that are like research institutions, potentially could collaborate or partner or fund us to move these things forward. So that would become, kind of non-dilutive funding and actually start to accelerate things. So 2026 should be quite fun.
Well, Stephen, thanks so much for giving a quick update on where you're at. It sounds exciting, and we look forward to following the story, okay?
Steve, thank you very much. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, sounds good. Stephen Van Deventer, he's the chairman of PreveCeutical Medical.
The featured company is a paid client of Proactive Group Holdings, and this recording is disseminated by Proactive on its behalf. It is for informational purposes only and does not constitute investment advice, an offer, or a solicitation to buy or sell any securities. Viewers should conduct their own research and consult a qualified financial advisor before making investment decisions. The views expressed are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect those of Proactive Group Holdings, trading as Proactive Investors or its affiliates. No responsibility is accepted for any loss arising from reliance on the information presented.